Okay, welcome to the RSU 14 Withdrawal Committee workshop. And the purpose of the meeting tonight, or the workshop tonight, is to get your inputs. You're not going to get a lot of answers from us because at this point we don't have a lot of answers. What we're looking for is where your questions, where your concerns, where your thoughts are, so that when we can put together a coherent plan that's going to address those items, as well as budget, as well as a number of different things. So we're here tonight listening to you, not you listening to us. So essentially the rules for the night are, if you want to speak, you go up to the podium, recognize you up there, state your name, your address, and then give us your concerns and whatnot, and we'll go as long as we need to hear the concerns that people have and what they're looking for, so that we can then address those. And the meeting tonight will be posted on the website. The video of the meeting will be posted there. We will also kind of take the themes of the questions and post those on that RSU 14 section on the website so that people can see those. And as we get answers to those, then we'll fill those in on there as well. If we're ready, whoever wants to go first can step up to the podium.
Who's going to be brave and go first? You guys came out because you have questions tonight, so there you go.
Susan Brackett, 47 Plummer Drive in Raymond, Raymond resident and 4th grade teacher over at Raymond Elementary School. So I've worked at Raymond as a teacher before we merged with Wyndham, and obviously since. I have concerns about withdrawing from Wyndham and how it will affect the kids. I feel like since we've been with Wyndham, we've been able to increase our classroom budgets, our curriculum budgets. We now have a special ed coach. We now have a math coach. And that's just at the elementary level that I'm speaking to. And we've received a lot of new curriculum. We've done a lot of professional development. And my concern is that if we withdraw, we will lose a lot of that money, and that it will negatively impact the students. I'm especially concerned about the struggling students, and I worry that there won't be enough money in the budget to provide the support for them that they need.
Thank you.
Bob Goslin, 11 Eagles View Drive. This is the second go-around that we're looking at withdrawing from the RSU. What's different at the first look around, it was pretty obvious that we could not provide the same services for the same dollars, that it would cost us more to provide the same services. What has changed in this period of time that we're ready to go in and look at it again?
Well, to give a brief response to that, what's changed is there has been issues. First of all, we haven't established what the budget is. That's
Okay.
part of what the task is, as far as coming up with the overall final proposal. That budget will be presented, and that's part of the final vote that comes out as here's, do we want to withdraw? Here's what it is. Here's what the budget's going to be. Issues that you come up with in regards to actual final services and things like that. Part of what will happen is a school board will be established, and they will be responsible for getting a lot of those things put into place. But we never fully finished the overall budget on that last go-around, because we got into the situation of the discussions on revamping the cost-sharing formula and things like that. And that satisfied a lot of the issues that were out there. What's happening is a lot of those issues are not necessarily being fully adhered to. So it's a function of that's kind of what drove starting that again. So to say that we're not going to be able to afford things is kind of an erroneous statement at this point, because we have not established what the budget is, so we don't know where, we don't have all the cost inputs to say here's what it's going to be, and whether it would change anything as far as services that are available to the students.
Can I add something to that, though? One of the things, you were with us last time when you were doing the budget part of that, and we didn't get to that point. I think a favorable thing that is on our side now is we have a consultant and we have an attorney that has done this. So they know what they're doing. They've been doing these kind of withdrawals. So this way, it's not us just trying to explore it like we were doing before, and then we end up coming to an agreement with the RSU. We actually have somebody that can get us some numbers, is what it is. Yes.
And that, I think it's important too to point out that that consultant is there to benefit the schools, the students, the town. So they've worked with towns that haven't withdrawn as well, but they've gone through the process just to explore. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what's different other than there's different people in the community, a few different people
And
here.
we're early enough in the process right now where we haven't even done a number crunching yet,
Right.
from what it sounds. So,
No, one of our big things is we want to get the public involved as much as possible and get their concerns, because there's rumors out there and there's comments out there. We just want to squash those and get everybody involved and get the accurate information to people so they can vote accurately when we get all that.
Thank you.
Marshall Bullock, Stonewall Crossing. I'm a little bit involved in this, and I frankly don't think that it's going to come down to a money decision. I think what's missed in that last conversation was the anticipation of a $100,000 increase to the budget because of the maintenance facility in Wyndham, and also a substantial increase, I would assume, for the building of the Wyndham Middle School. I cannot see the state allowing Wyndham to build that middle school and not close Jordan Small. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think we need to consider those two things. Those will have a major impact in the budget, and I believe that the town of Raymond can do better with town money than that.
And then just to follow up on Teresa's comment on squashing rumors, we have no idea that that's what's going to happen. So that is something that we wouldn't necessarily want to just put out there as will happen. And just trying
We
to.
do have an idea on the maintenance facility, which is about $95,000.
Right, but the middle school, we don't.
The middle school is a pretty good possibility.
We don't know that.
Sue Accardi, Deep Cove Road. So the last negotiation when you renegotiated the arrangement 3 years ago, as I recall, any new construction will be for each specific town. So if Wyndham gets funded by the state or whatever, but builds their middle school, Raymond will not have to pay for that, because that was part of the big negotiation last time, is what, came out of that. I think that was the big thing. So there wouldn't be now. I don't know. I can't speak to whether the state is going to hold their feet to the fire about, well, we're not going to give you any money unless you close Jordan Small. I don't know if that's how they do that. So I agree. But I think it needs to be clear that under the last negotiations, that Raymond will not have to pay for that middle school. I think people should know that for sure.
I would agree with that, only to the extent that look at the storage, the new transportation building.
Vehicle maintenance.
But we always paid into that as part, and it's a rental agreement.
That was a
It's a
facility
rental
built in Wyndham, and it was supposed to be picked up over there. It wasn't, so,
I know,
So what
yeah.
I'm saying is, what what is supposedly in black and white is not necessarily in black and white, and therefore
So you think Wyndham would
And-
try
and
to
the
get
other
us to
thing is,
pay
if
for the
you-
middle
If you
school?
look at that, if they were to close Jordan Small, part of that agreement says that then we have to pay a portion of that building if we send people there. So the fact is, it's muddy. It's not crystal clear.
Okay, well, that's, I mean, I understand where, about where you're coming from with that, and I don't know if that'll be the case, who knows?
Yeah.
But, I didn't know whether there was other issues, and I see that is an issue. Besides, I know the maintenance garage is a big, huge issue from the beginning, so, anyway.
I would say from the school board, there have been no talks of closing Jordan Small at all. Like, that has not even come up in the discussions talking about what the state will provide to build Wyndham Middle School. There have been no talks of that.
Good evening. I'm Walter Lunt, 134 Thomas Pond Terrace, Raymond. First, thank all of you for being willing to step up, volunteer, and go through this painful 22-step process. Many of us do really appreciate it. And to a couple of you, thanks for doing it again. I'm here to express my wholehearted support for breaking up this consolidation, divorce, if you will. And while I appreciate and I admire the way Raymond is very frugal in the way it runs its government and its institutions, I'm not naive enough to think that separation will save us taxpayer money. It very, very likely will not. But it's really hard to put a price on autonomy, which I very much value. I do appreciate the way we've been represented on the school board by the representatives from Raymond. I view consolidation with Wyndham as a forced marriage, one that's been on shaky ground ever since it was instituted. This union, to me, has never felt like a single district. One issue that, there have been many, but one issue that convinced me we may never work all that well together was 2 or 3 years ago. You'll recall student enrollment in one town was up, down in the other. A proposal was floated to transport some kids from the northern part of Wyndham to Raymond. That ended up being a very contentious battle. And the battle was over towns and towns people's preferences. It was not about solving a problem as one district smartly using existing resources. The issue ended up being framed as one town against another, and there's been a number of different issues that seem to end up being addressed that way. Now, in each instance, you listen to both sides. Wyndham has a position, Raymond has another, they have concerns. You listen to both sides and you end up agreeing with each one, understanding what their points of view are. But bottom line, I really and truly feel, I've lived in both towns. My children went to Wyndham schools. I have heard nothing but wonderful things about Raymond schools, before the consolidation particularly. But the fact is, the two towns, I really believe, are fundamentally different places. Fundamentally different in the way they spend, population, in geography. It just feels like each town should be running their own schools. They're quite capable of doing that. I don't even believe in this frugal town that Raymond would deny funds that Raymond schools need. I don't believe it at all. I do believe that bigger is not always better. Policy ends up being one size fits all. Curriculum becomes homogenized with the same instructional strategies for all the schools. Innovation suffers under those kinds of conditions. And lastly, I speak as a retired 30-year public school teacher. I happen to be teaching at a school near here that was going through the separation process a couple of years ago, and being on the ground floor as a teacher at that time, it gave me an interesting perspective. And if I may, from that perspective, offer you some advice. Don't leave the teachers out of the loop. Not saying that you have, not saying that you would ever consider doing that. But I know they're and I'm so happy to see the teachers here tonight. But having them speak in a general public hearing situation is different from meeting with them separately. When I was at this particular school, misinformation ran rampant. Rumors ran rampant. And you could just see that they would love to sit down with a group like yourself separately, intimately. They have so much insight to offer you. They have questions rather than reading the newspaper or listening to rumors that you could answer. And you would have questions for them. I would highly recommend that, meeting with the teachers separately to answer their questions. So that's it, my 3 points. Smaller can be better. I've seen that. Let's do school the way we think is best for our kids. And finally, intimate conversations with our teachers. And thanks again for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Mr. Lund, what did you teach?
Elementary school, I taught in a very unusual school. We were called hippies. I
can
taught in
relate
a
to that.
publicly funded alternative school in Freeport. And we were a very small school, almost a one-room schoolhouse, enrollment a little over 100 kids. We were geographically separated from the more traditional schools in the rest of town. When the state made us consolidate with the other schools, we lost so much. I didn't want to go into a lot of detail, but that's what I meant when I said innovation suffers. Smaller.
Were you at the Mariconig?
I was not. I was at the Seoul School.
Okay.
We were a public school.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Cold.
Can you share with the rest of us?
Hi, Heather Martin, 37 Rolling Brook Road. I am actually a fairly new resident, going on my 3rd year now. And the reason, we picked this town as a younger couple is because of the Wyndham-Raymond relationship and wanting to start a family here. I grew up in a small town, so I do appreciate the small town feel Raymond has, and value that the children could have that from their K-8 programs, but then also see the true value that Wyndham High School brings to our students. When we talk about innovation, we talk about offering a broad range of programs. The extracurricular activities over there, are really good in the state, and the education they get at the high school is very good. So for me, coming into this now, I'm very disappointed to see this process being laid out. One, because we talk about wanting to involve the community, but at the same time, the vote for this was held on a Tuesday night in the summer where a lot of people didn't even know about it, versus on a general election to say, do we even want to go through this process? So for me, that doesn't involve the community. That was kind of a hidden agenda item. So now it's disappointing to come in and think, oh gosh, everything, I potentially had in my family plans are now going to be changed and switched. So I just want you to think about that when you want to attract younger families to this community so that does stay thriving. That there is a lot of attraction, that there is that relationship with the Wyndham school system. Thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
going to just clarify something on that. Wyndham High School, you still have that option no matter what. That doesn't even ever go away. That's your choice. So when your child at 8th grade, they get to go whatever high school they want. They have
What
choice.
if they don't wanna do that because of this?
To go to Wyndham,
Yeah.
then they can pick any high school they want. They have choice.
No, I mean, what if Wyndham doesn't want us?
Well, that's something we've got to work on. And if Wyndham chooses not to take us and not take the money, then that's something that we will put out to the public also. You know, we have to have so many schools.
I think eventually Wyndham would get frustrated with this process every 3 years happening. That it could happen.
I mean, we can't predict what Wyndham's reaction is.
Just like we can't predict if the middle school's gonna change our budget.
Exactly.
Right.
But, you have to think logically and go, okay, they're gonna spend 50 million on a new middle school, have plenty of room in that middle school,
Gotta think logically, though, they might get frustrated with us and go, well.
They may.
They don't really
Yeah.
want us.
They may. But, we have to have a contract school. Wyndham's always been an option. I've lived in this town 40 years, and Wyndham has been an option. Back in the 60s, we had a school union with Wyndham. So there's a long, long history between Raymond and Wyndham.
Will we still get Wyndham's benefits at our Raymond schools that the teachers are seeing?
Well, I mean, no one, I don't believe on this panel, would deny anyone the education they deserve and they want. So that will all come into the calculations of how much is the school budget. That's all part of this process. I think, you need to let the process play out to see what happens. But, we appreciate your input
Thank you.
and your concerns.
Yes.
Me not being on the board, this is me as a citizen. My concern is, I saw it, and I'm the one that's done the petition twice now, is what it is. And what's happening in my eyes is when Jordan's Mall is was at the time, was an option of being shut down. And there was 3 options that were put on the table of new schools and transporting the kids to Wyndham. How does that feel for the kids in middle school that are going to lose the middle school here in Raymond? And I didn't want that because I live in this town, my taxes also, and I hear the different people talk in town as far as I'm worried about the school closing. And it's not a definite, but there's no school board member also that cannot say that it's not going to happen because everybody changes on these boards is what it is. That is one of my concerns. Another one of my concerns is just my tax dollars going up. But my hope for the schools is that what you guys have now, you keep. And you push for that with the new school board if this town chooses to go through withdrawal. If it doesn't, fine, then we move forward with that. But you keep pushing with the same programs that work for these kids because it is about the kids. It really is. The money's about the kids. And so, you know what? I think every parent out there, if this is how strong you feel about keeping the programs in the schools, then you vote for those. Is what you do. It's just me as a citizen.
Jessica Madsen. I live on 32 Crescent Shore Road in Raymond, Maine. I guess my question is, I wonder about what the long-term plan would be for our district if we were to make the decision to move, because I think as a parent of 2 children in the district and also as a local administrator, I understand that there's a lot of costs associated with running a district independent of Wyndham, and to try to do this in a way that sort of seems rushed and just kind of thrown together, I wonder about, is the plan to put together a 5 or 10 year implementation plan, and would you consider the idea of building a high school here in Raymond to keep and retain people in this community? I mean, I know my husband and I have a conversation all the time about what are we going to do in high school. Am I thrilled about my kid riding in the bus for an hour to go to Wyndham? Not really. Are there other options? Yeah, there are. But I think we were attracted to Raymond because it was a small community school. We liked that feel. But I also think that if this is something that's really on the table, it shouldn't just be about money. It shouldn't just be about, like, we want to make sure we're being, efficient with our funds. running a school district independently is a huge undertaking. And I think if it is something that we're going to do, you need to make sure you have the right players at the table. You need to make sure that you have really informed people guiding you throughout the process. Are you going to get your own superintendent? Are you going to have your own central office? Because those are essential positions. If you're going to structure a school and you're just going to say, oh, we're going to continue to have the administrators that we've had and they're going to act independent, then you're not doing the town any justice. Because working in schools my entire life and now running a school, I can tell you that without that central office support, without having a special education director, without having people that oversee big decisions, and without having that support system as an administrator, there's no way that people would be successful, and you would not retain or keep quality educators if they're not in an environment where they feel successful, where they feel valued, where they feel supported. So it's a huge decision, and also one that I feel like, truthfully, I follow the PTO page, and I just found out about this like a week ago, and I'm like, why is this happening? Where is this coming from? And I don't consider myself an uninformed person. I actually try to follow the schools and try to make sure that I'm informed of what's going on, but I just don't feel like I understand the why. I don't understand the purpose behind this decision and what led up to us feeling this way, and us really making a decision to make something that is so impactful, not just for my kids, but for kids for years to come, because this is a big deal. And I'd hate to see us get in this cycle every 3 years where somebody gets frustrated about something that happens, and then we decide that we're going to pull out, and then we're going to have everybody get all up in arms, and then we're going to decide we're not going to do it again. So if we're going to do it, I just want to make sure that we have a really well laid out plan, that we've given a lot of thought to it, and we're not selling it to townspeople as a savings in tax money, because if you're going to do it right, there's no way that you're going to save taxpayers any money in this town. So thank you.
You know, it seems to be a theme that I keep hearing is that this is being done just to save money, and that's not the case whatsoever. I mean, there's dollars and cents that go into an overall calculus and whatnot, but keep in mind too that Raymond has run a school department here for years and years and years prior to the consolidation. So we're not the new kids on the block with no institutional knowledge whatsoever. We have people that have been involved in that, and that's the reason we brought on consultants, was to help in some of those areas as well, so that we can have an overall good plan going forward that says here's what you do. The issue that you have is this committee can't per se give a 5 or a 10-year plan that we could guarantee is going to be followed, because the school board is in charge of implementing that, and that would be an independent board who could the first thing it could do is say we're going to scrap that and do something, make it a little bit different or whatever. That's fine. But what happens at that level is you have a lot more input as to what the school board is going to do at that point than you do now. Right now you have the input of, you have 3 people versus 7 people on anything that happens. So if it ever comes down to a question of what's better for Raymond, what's better for Wyndham, you can be pretty well sure which way that decision is going to go, because you've got 3 to 7. So even if all of our or 6, so even if all of our 3 say yes, they're going to be outvoted almost every, 9 times out of 10. So, what we're, part of what you're looking at here is how do you bring back some more local control of what actually does happen to the students when they're in the school. And the way you do that is by having the control over there. So, it's recognized that you have to have central staff, you have to have things like that. So it's not, it's not that we're going to say that, gee, we don't need that. No, you have to. There's certain requirements that come down from the state on what needs to be done, and those have to be followed as well. So it's not. We do have some background in this town of running a school system, but at the end of the day here, we're still only going to be running, no matter what, a K-8 school. To, unless the population was to bloom to some amazing amount, we only send 100 and some odd kids to to 138.
I think it's
128.
To high school. So to look at that and say, could you have an effective high school with 128 kids? and offer the same services that they can get if we tuition them into one of the bigger high schools? Probably not. So you have to look at it from that standpoint of what's in the best interest of the kids at that point.
When he's talking about the school board too, there would be a vote for a new school board. So that, he's not talking about the current one that we have now. If this does go through, there would be people running in another vote for school board members. And it would be a three panel, three peoples, and then we can vote to make it 5 or whatever later. But it would be a new school board is what it is. And those are the people that would move forward with what's for the schools and that type of thing.
But I'm guessing this will go to vote again, which would mean that at that point, would you have more information?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
About
yeah.
the financial impact and what your 5 to 10 year plan might be to give families who aren't happy or who would like to have more information before we go to vote? Would you
Oh,
have those things
absolutely.
available?
Yeah, there'll be a number of meetings and get-togethers and things like that on what it is, because until you come down to the final vote that says, okay, here's all the information. Here's where we are. Here's what our negotiated separation agreement is with the RSU and things like that. Until all those things are in place, we can't have a final vote anyway. That's why it's a 22-step process that we go through. And so part of, items and elements along that line are developing those things. So, and that's why we brought on Mark Eastman, one of the consultants, because he has been through this with
I think
about
he's done like 40.
with a vast number of schools, and that involved developing the new district. And in some of those cases, it was ones that never had one to begin with, so it was starting it from scratch. Here, we at least have the benefit of having had past administration here and a past school board and a past self-run school here with tuitioned out high school. So, we're in a little bit better shape from that standpoint than a lot of those other schools that have gone down that road. But that's the whole purpose of these meetings, is to get these inputs so that we can see where the concerns are, so that we can develop the plans and get the answers to you that you're looking for.
Dan Stockford is an attorney that works with Mark, so he's going to keep us on the legal. One of our biggest concerns we have in this town, or biggest issues we have in the town, is getting word out on anything. And the school has put a stop to sending anything out that's not school related. So we try everything we can to get word out. We put it on our town webpage. We put out a withdrawal. We mention it at our select board meetings. I start putting it on Facebook, and then people just keep posting it from there. If you have any suggestions, Jen Main stuck it on the PTO for me, just to try to get word out too. Anybody that has any suggestions, I called to get it in the newspaper too, to publicize it. If you have a suggestion on how to get word out, we're going to be having, you guys are the ones that vote throughout this process. We are just tasked to get the information and present it to you in a package or whatever. So if you guys have any ideas, any suggestions to give me as far as getting word out to people on keeping people informed, let me know, please. Because, that vote that we had, I made homemade signs and stuck them on the side of the roads, and that's how people said they saw that. Even though we kept, putting it out there as these little handmade, signs, go vote or not vote or whatever. So that's the biggest issue we have, is getting word out to people to get them involved.
I think it would just be nice to know why. Like, I feel like that's the thing that I still don't have a full understanding of. I hear local control, what does that mean to you? And I guess why what we have currently isn't working. I don't understand where this is coming from or what motivated it or why we're having this conversation. But I don't know if maybe I'm late to the game because I just found out on the PTO page, but maybe I'm late to the game, but I'm just wondering.
She's late? Oh, then we're all late.
No, well, no.
As this grows, you're gonna get more
This is
people.
an inside job.
Well,
Wait, let's not kid ourselves here.
Well, wait,
No, I think as this grows,
right.
you're gonna get more people at these meetings,
And
I'm sure this is probably the biggest turnout.
Kate was a big help to show us that, because she wasn't here before when we had the school before, and when the school was separated. I'm the one that did both petitions, is what it was. Hi, it's me. And so my first time around was I didn't want our schools closed, and when they were going to build a middle school in Wyndham, and I'm trying to give you guys just a quick history of it. And they were gonna like build a school and send all of our kids down there. I'm like, wait a second, we're consolidated. You take out the word Raymond, you take out the word Wyndham. We are RSU 14. I got booed. I got booed pretty bad in a school board meeting because I went down and I said that, and they told me to go back to Raymond where I belong, is what the comment was. And I said, but when you're talking schools, utilize what you have. And to me personally, they weren't utilizing that. And I wasn't going to pay for a new school that our kids, that we would have to pay for when we have 2 great schools up here that we could use. And they would not send their kids. It was so contentious at those meetings as far as sending kids up here. I mean, they threatened lawsuits and everything else. It was crazy. So as you can see, our kids are still up here, their kids are still down there, and some of them are coming up here. So at that point, I took the petition papers out and said, you know what, we're an RSU. If we're going to be one, and the school board needs to stand up, act like it, do it, okay? We came, and it ended up, we got to talks. The school board came to talks. We came up with a great agreement with the cost sharing, is if anything, any new footprint that was in each town would be borne by that town. And we also lowered our cost sharing, because when we only have so many kids up here in the school district up here right now, we were paying 45% out of, and Wyndham was paying 55% for this school budget that we had an eighth, a seventh of, is what it is. I mean, so many less kids. So we fought and we got a new cost sharing agreement for that. So over 3 years, in 2018 was the lowest. I think right now, this past year, I think we paid 30 points, some odd percent. You know, it's not even the 35, because that's how low our percentage was. So what happens is we agreed, we voted on that, but we also voted on the new major improvements is what it is. And they had to describe what they were. And it was any new footprint. This came from the lawyer. This came from Sandy Prince. This came from Dawn Davis. This is how it was described at 2 open public meetings. That the vehicle maintenance garage down in Wyndham right now is a new footprint. No matter how you look at it, there's 2 modulars down there that are 2 footprints that we in Raymond should not be paying for. When you're getting middle school modulars, when we have so much room up here in these schools that are great for our kids, send them up here, and they will not. But we're paying, and money is going towards a great big state-of-the-art, tornado-wise everything garage, and modulars that we have schools that can house people. That's where this came from. So I started again, and I didn't just go off half-cocked either to go and start this petition up again. The select board pulled in our attorney, the town attorney, and we sent letters. We sent letters to talk to the school board. We sent several letters, and we got denied. They said they didn't want to talk to us. This is what the school board said. They said, we have nothing to say to you. This is how we feel. And then their attorney wrote back to us and said, you know what? And this was in, I think, April. She goes, I'll be talking to the school board in June. She goes, I'll get back to you then. And it was after a vote. So this is the select board reaching out numerous times to talk to the school board that a lot of people don't know about, because we were trying to talk to, we invited the town of Wyndham, and we invited the council, and we invited the select board, all 3 of us, to sit down at the tables, talk off the record to try and work this out. And they kept refusing us and ignoring us. So what do? We just let them keep going. So that was my choice, to turn around and take the petition out again, because I don't feel for a vehicle garage that we are barely going to use, that we will be paying probably at the minimum $1.2 million. Do you know what Raymond can do with $1.2 million in their schools? A lot. But we're paying for a vehicle maintenance garage that we will never, ever own. That's
1 year, that 1.2 million, 1 year cost?
It's over 20 years, but that's still
So that's
1
not a
point.
lot.
What's our?
It's not a lot. To me, it is when kids need books and everything, need their stuff. So that what, and you know, and that's okay. That's your opinion, and I have mine. But this is why I did it. You know what I mean? And you asked where it came from. That's where it came from.
I would encourage anyone who is concerned about the shared maintenance facility. Chris Howell did a wonderful presentation to the school board and explained the whole process with it. I get to be the newbie and say I had nothing to do with the whole shared maintenance thing.
Yeah.
I also want to point out too that just because some of, like, certain people had to be on the withdrawal committee. It's all part of the state thing. So as a school board member, I have to be on here. It doesn't mean that I am for the withdrawal, so I don't want any hate mail.
No, she gives us
No,
her
I'm just
view,
kidding.
which is good because we're
Yeah.
seeing it from a different aspect.
But if people do have questions on the shared maintenance facility, I can't remember when it was like September or October that Chris did a presentation, and he did a really good job explaining the process that the school board went through, and how that all came about. So I would encourage anyone with questions on that to look at that presentation.
I think Wendy's. Sorry.
Hi, Wendy Thorin, 195 North Raymond Road. I've been around here a long time, and I agree, this was a forced marriage. If it had not have been demanded of us to go with another town, we would have stayed Raymond. We were great, we were fantastic. I think we still are, as our small, our own school, but I was not for it to begin with, but we had no choice. And I think that to go back to our own town, and our kids got fantastic educations, and I'm for the break.
Sarah Davis, 85 Tenny Hill Road, Raymond, Maine. So I have a number of concerns. Number one, being a lot of what was echoed here, I'm disappointed this occurred in a June vote and not a November vote. Spent a lot of time in politics, and we all know, regardless, that you're going to get less turnout in June, and that makes it feel a little squishy from my perspective. So I would hope if we move forward, everything happens in a general election vote where we have a good turnout. My second concern is with the members. With all due respect to all of you, you're all the select board. And I know Joe's no longer on the select board. He's a select board member. It feels a little uninclusive. I know the state mandates one person from the select board. It feels like it should be one person from the select board. Just an opinion. I know you brought
I have
the
no
petition.
choice.
I know it
yeah.
mandates
Yeah,
you
you
brought
go,
the
yep.
petition. I just want to tell you how I feel, and having the third person be from the select board, it feels inside. And sometimes frustration comes from the way things feel, right? And this feels rushed. It feels like it was a June thing. It feels like there wasn't a lot of publication. And then when I ask, what are the numbers? What's behind all this? What do we pay? What do we look to save? What does it cost for administration? And we don't really know. The concerns just keep growing, okay? I am a huge local control person. I actually have wonderful ideas of what you could do as a small town running a small school, and project-based learning and lots of different things that policy didn't always get in your way. But we need to know what that is up front. There's not a person here who can make a decision on anything, or that I'm aware, because we haven't seen both sides of everything. And
We can't make any decisions either.
Absolutely, and we need to see as much as possible. And I see there's a meeting Monday. Are all the meetings going to be public? Is everybody going to be welcome?
Yeah.
The meeting Monday is changed, but that will be an executive session meeting because we're working on the negotiating positions for the withdrawal agreement. So that would not be an open meeting. All other meetings are open.
Okay. If you could
but
just post which
yeah.
ones are and which ones aren't, that'd be
But
really
ju-
helpful,
just-
because the town page is not great, all right? I'm gonna be fair. We fought hard to get the school board to allow us to put more stuff out, and they're willing to put out the town page, and they do that. But if the town page is kind of not as friendly and useful, that creates issues.
We're looking for
too.
people to be on this board.
Oh, I would
There's
love to.
subcommittees, seriously.
Oh, I would love to.
And Mark
But just-
Eastman hasn't
yeah,
given.
But I want to make one thing a little bit clear here. I understand the frustration from the standpoint of, in that first meeting that we had, it was when we had the public hearing just before that first vote, there was frustration at that meeting, and some rightly so. That there's not a lot of information. The issue is we are driven by the state guideline in regards to a withdrawal procedure that says within X number of days of the petition being certified, you have to hold this first vote. So it was not our choice to have it specifically then. It was the fact that that's what the state statute mandated on that. And that really, all that vote did was says, do we want to start working down this process? Along the way in that process, there's a number of checkpoints and things like that. There'll be multiple meetings and things like that. And ultimately, at the very end of it, after all this, after all that information is out there, you then have one final vote that says, and that's a referendum vote that says, do we want to do this act? So there are multiple checkpoints that occur along the line. So it's, it's not, nothing's done, just because we had that vote and decided to start down this process, it doesn't mean that the withdrawal is done.
It just starts the process.
All that says is, okay, now you have said that you want to look at this
Explore.
process, you want to start down this process to come up and see if, when you get to the end, if it's the right thing for the town, because the town has the ultimate say at that point.
And you will have all
And
the
when,
numbers.
when does that go to referendum?
Not until we get the information, and we're not rushing anything.
So there's no statutory deadlines on when it has
We-
to go out for referendum?
We had 90 days, and we've already got our first continuance for another 90 days. One of the schools is on their 13th continuance. We're not rushing anything. And so when we come to you guys at the end, if we make it to the end, because last time we didn't, then we're going to have all the numbers. We're going to have everything as to what it is, what needs to be done, and there's steps, and that's why we brought the consultant and the attorney in. And again, it's getting the word out to the people. It's the hardest thing in this town to do.
Sure.
And I mean, the school board had to notify us within so many days to set up a meeting real quick, just so we can say that, okay, we have a board. So that's how strict it is. So it's not us dictating it, by no means. And the four of us don't vote on anything that makes any difference for the town. You know what I mean? The town is going to make the ultimate say, is what it is. And we will come to you. And that's why we're here tonight. Numbers. Numbers is what people want. We don't have them because we're still in the so early stages,
Right.
And
And impacts on other towns, I mean, you say the consultant has worked in a number of other towns.
Yes.
If we can hear the impact, the tax impact, the impact on school ratings, all of those things, I think we would be really curious to see what happens.
And we've asked for that. We have
Wonderful.
asked him to get us information on other towns that have withdrawn, how
Wonderful.
things are still going, like a where are they now
Right.
type thing.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And
Thank
we
you.
do have to have a certain amount of voter turnout to
Oh, yeah.
vote whether we would or would not withdraw. I forget what
Sue
it
would know
was.
that.
It was a certain percentage of the
50%
last
50%
governor's election.
50% of the people that voted in the last
governor's
gubernatorial
election.
election.
But we also have to have, in order to get
This is a
to
big
that
one, so that'll be a big
November
one.
election, yes. to
That's
get
what
to
you
the-
have to have,
Right.
that's what you have to have come to the vote.
Come to
That's
the
not
polls,
how
right.
many you have to have to
Right,
pass it.
right.
because
Vote either
it's
way.
still- You need 50% of those that come to vote, but you need a minimum of 50% of those that voted in the last gubernatorial election.
But in order to do that, we have to have everything ready, lined up, ready to go by July 1st to even get a November vote. There's no way
Right. So
we're gonna have things ready by July. So I don't see a November. This is a process. It really is, and it's nothing rushed. But we're also, Sue has this big thing that she sends out to all of us that has deadlines as to where it meets, and the attorney that we've been using has a tickler, like when we get close to 90 days again. So, we're following their lead and stuff like that. But yeah, the only meetings that are not going to be publicized are the ones in executive session right now for negotiations on a contract, is what it is. And that's when we will go in executive sessions with the attorney. But didn't he say once it's sent to the school board, it then becomes public information? Yes.
And the contract goes to them without voter approval of the contract.
Yes.
Could you explain the negotiation process a little better? Will it just be you four doing the negotiating when you set up in your executive session in terms of what you want from the
The negotiation is between the withdrawal committee and the school board.
Right, but who sets up the conditions of the negotiation?
Some of it is set by state,
Our boilerplate, yeah.
there's a lot of state boilerplate. Then you get into certain things like number of buses, number of, things like that.
That's what you're deciding for the next negotiating meeting, is
Yep.
all of that stuff, not what you want in terms of the bus garage and things like that, is that part?
I'm sorry, Sue, I didn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Is that, when does that come into play in terms of the negotiations around the maintenance garage, negotiations around maybe what could happen with the middle school? Is that part of,
That's part of that. If
so
we're doing
that's,
it now.
that's part of what you'll be talking about in terms of the executive session negotiations?
there's
Executive sessions.
essentially in executive session, we'll be establishing what our negotiating positions are on certain elements in there. Obviously, the school board is doing the same thing. They're having executive sessions to say that, we're gonna want X, Y, Z out of a separation agreement. We're saying we want, we want elemental P.
So where's do you have input from any of the community about what you want out of the RSU in terms of that?
That's what part of tonight was. We had our board all kind of give some of the things, and one of the things too is Kate was giving into was like the programs and stuff like that, but that comes later is what we talked about too. But that's one of the things is we're saying, what does the public want? You know what I mean? And again, trying to get it out to the public as to come to
But
these
I haven't
meetings.
heard anything specific from this meeting about
No,
what the public wants.
tell us what the.
Well,
tell us
I
what
know,
you-
but
yeah.
I just don't,
Yeah.
I also just want to really quickly point out when it comes to negotiations, because I have the pleasure of wearing two hats in this job, I will not be involved in any negotiations on the school board side. So I will always only be representing the withdrawal committee. And that comes from the attorneys who handle, not the attorneys that we've hired, but the state attorneys that handle this. So just so that's clear.
Hi, Caitlin LaCase, 47 Tenny Hill Road. Good to see you all again. A couple things. One, I don't know if people know this, but there's a town listserv that was started after the last process because we had a hard time getting information out. So I actually don't even know how you sign up, or you probably go onto the website and sign up, but that's how I
Yep.
found out about this meeting and other ones. So if you haven't signed up for that, that would be a good place to start and get some more information. And perhaps people through their various networks can encourage people to sign up to that as well. Lastly, secondly, I wanted to say that I was part of this process last time, and while I am very skeptical about the benefit of potentially withdrawing, I was very impressed with the process, and I thought that might be benefit for people to hear, just that I went in thinking that perhaps we should not withdraw, and I throughout the whole time felt that my concerns were heard, and that the committee was looking at it from all angles and was being very responsible with it and looking at it rationally and thoughtfully. And I really appreciated that. I have serious concerns about the idea of withdrawing. One of the reasons we moved here echoes what I've heard. We moved here pre-kids, pre-marriage. We moved here, but knowing that we wanted to be in a community like this, and we were looking at surrounding communities, and we're impressed what we had heard about the schools here. That's not to say that it couldn't hold over, but that is one of the reasons why we're here. And the thing that I think the thing that impressed us the most was the option of school choice. And you said you wanted to hear what we liked. So I would just urge you, as you are thinking through this process, that wherever we get, to keep school choice for high school. That, for my family at least, was a deciding factor as to why we said, was one of the deciding factors. We're very glad to be here now for many reasons, but at that point, we are very excited about that option for our now 3 children who will be entering in the schools. And one is in kindergarten now, and we've been very impressed with what we've seen so far, so thank you.
Choice will always stay unless the town votes, and it will have.
Turn it, yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
If I may, Ralph.
Yes.
First of all, school choice is a totally separate vote. It's been voted on by the town overwhelmingly in favor. It's not going anywhere unless that you put out another question that says, do you want to repeal school choice? That's not the charge of this committee. Secondly, I'd just like to respond to Sarah. I am not a selectman. You know, I walked away in June. I would like to think they asked me to be on here because I was the chair of the consolidation back in 2007-8. I was the chair of the withdrawal committee 3 years ago. I've been the school board chair here before we consolidated. I like to think
Consolidation board.
I was on the consolidation board. I would like to think I have a lot to offer, not that I'm a selectman. And as Caitlin said, I was the chair of the process last time. We weren't closed-minded going in. I mean, as a matter of fact, we said, no, it's not a good idea to withdraw. why is it so hard to actually explore the possibility? That's all we're doing right now. This is an exploration. There's no determination where we're going yet. And the fact of the matter is, right now, we pay $9.5 million to the RSU from the town of Raymond. That's the budget right now, $9.5 million and growing. Usually is at least a 3 to 4% increase every year. So add 3 to 4% on that $9.5 million, you're now at 10 million, or pretty close to it. Can Raymond operate its own school unit with $10 million? Or is it going to cost more to provide the best education for the kids of Raymond? My kids went through the Raymond schools. Wendy Thorin took care of a lot of my
Miss
kids when
Wendy,
they had
yeah.
runny noses and were sick, and call us and we go pick the kids up. It is possible to stay a separate school unit and still provide an excellent education. In 1986, Raymond was a nationally recognized school of excellence. It was, but
Tequila just
okay, but why? But why can't Raymond do it again? That's what I'm pointing out to you. Raymond did it before without Wyndham's involvement. We can do it again if we set our mind to it. So that's I'm here to try and think. I'm open-minded to listen to all these viewpoints, even though I got thrown under the bus by Sarah. But I want to explore. I have no problem exploring the possibility of leaving. That's all. And if we can provide a better education by being our own district, why not explore that? Now, Caitlin wants school choice. So how does withdrawing from the RSU with Wyndham affect school choice? It doesn't. So I want all of you not to be predetermined on the outcome, and listen and follow these meetings and show up and give us your input, and you will get all your answers. We're not going to withdraw without knowing how much it's going to cost the town of Raymond. We're not going to do it. We're not going to withdraw and say, well, we don't know how much special education is going to cost and how many kids do we have in special ed and how many thousands is that going to cost the town. We're going to try and have those answers. We're going to try and set up an administration and say, okay, do we need a superintendent, or is it a superintendent-principal combination, or do you need two principals? All that is part of the discussion. So.
Well, I'm just watching her reaction back there too.
Superintendent, principal, bad idea.
Well, and you know what? And that's what we're looking for.
But the question is that the answer?
Yeah.
No, and I think that.
Please step up to the.
I'm glad to hear your perspective, and I appreciate your candor just now, because I think I'm not coming in with a preset mind. It's just like I'm trying to learn about the process, and I'm trying to figure out what the motivation is for everybody that's here. And for me, when we think about the structure of the schools, that's why I say, what's the plan? What is the 5-10-year plan? And it's good to hear from you that, yes, those are things that you're going to consider. Those are things that are going to be part of the conversation, because those are really essential components of a well-designed school structure. So that's really all I had to say about that. But
when I was getting the signatures, there was such a mix, and it was good to hear the mix. It really was. Somebody says, with the school so small, we don't need a full-time superintendent. Another guy threw the pen down and says, you're going to nickel this to death. I said, I'm not making those decisions. I'm just getting signatures. So that's what we need to hear from you guys, and that will come in later. We were talking. Kate's been assigned to the programs part of it on this board of what you guys want, but there's no reason not to keep what you guys have, and getting input from the teachers is huge. I agree with Walter on that one. I mean, talking to you guys would be really huge. I don't think that's for us right now, though, or am I wrong on that? I mean, because that becomes in the program part of it, the school board part of it. Am I wrong, or?
No, it becomes, it's part of the overall charge here. The issue you get into, we can come up with, with what we feel and what the town feels that they want to do. They then have to make sure they hold the newly elected school board feet to the fire on that and say, hey, we did this because this is what we said, we signed on for what we're getting. We need you to make sure that happens. Before we go to the vote, we're going to say, here's what this is based on. Here's what the beast is going to look like. Here's how it's going to operate. Is that what are you the town of Raymond on board with that? If you are, then you're going to vote yes, and then the withdrawal will go through. The school board immediately gets formed, and the thing starts to go forward. But there's certain time elements that exist in there. Even if the vote is the vote says yes, we're going to separate. There is an amount of, depending on when that timing comes in. You may have said you're going to separate, but you may still have another year in the consolidation just because of the whole timing issue. So, it's not necessarily a chopping block that comes down and says, everything stops at this day and now we're on our own. There's certain time elements the state has built into that formula that says here's things that have to happen by this date, or that can't happen until the next year.
Well, can I add something? And I don't know how much, we haven't gone into negotiations, but it's my understanding, and I was the one that was really pushing for this withdrawal last time, and I'm the one that totally conceded to once because I wanted what was better for everybody, and that cost sharing agreement and that major capital improvement was better when we got that deal. But when we go in negotiations now, from my understanding, we're going to be talking, I believe, about debt. I'm allowed to say this, I hope, because we haven't discussed in private. Debt service. I think
There's
It's just an intimate group here.
well, that's yeah. Well, and we're not because one of the, well, and I think because nothing's been shown. But I would want to know what are you discussing? And contracts have to be like teachers' contracts, support staff contracts. They all have to be honored, and that will be in the contract. I do know that, and I know that is a concern for some people that have called me and asked about that. To say what happens to our jobs, and stuff like that. They have to be honored. Teachers, unions and stuff like that, everything has to be honored. And special ed, everything is a standstill for 1 year if we withdraw. So everything is for 1 year, like all the IEPs, everything that's set up. So it's not disrupting any of the kids. And me personally, I want to make sure any kid that's in any kind of school, where they're at right now, they don't get disrupted at all. You know what I mean? It stays. Their grandfather is what it is. You know what I mean? So they can finish what's comfortable for them and whatever the parents just do after that. But I think later too is I think what a lot of this stuff is going to come into is the what do we have for Raymond? What are the programs we have? And I don't really think it comes down to the money as much. I really don't. I think it's what we want for our kids. I really do. And having local control. When I say local control, having parents be able to go to school board meetings and feel like they're heard and having a part of say and having 5 people on the school board in Raymond that's making decisions just for Raymond is what it is.
I just want to, there seems to be a little concern on, in regards to the separation agreement. If you back into this, when we consolidated, there was property, plant, equipment, and whatnot that was consolidated into the union. There was physical property. There was a lot of different elements. The separation agreement, not unlike a divorce, says okay. You came in, you had all this stuff. How's it going to get split up between the two entities now? So that that is who do we still own our do we still own our buildings? Do we still what do we that's the type things that get covered under there. A lot of the other the separation agreement does not say what our new school structure is going to be, because that has no bearing on the separation agreement. That's the other side of the coin, which is what is the town of Raymond gonna set up for a school district? That's not in the separation agreement because there's no reason for it to be in there, because that's not there. What you're dealing with is what's happening with all the tangible assets, what's happening with all the intellectual property and things like that. How does that get now split back out? That's what happens in the separation agreement. So it's really, there's two sides to this coin. One is taking care of that side. The other is now, what's the new school district going to actually be? How's it going to operate, and what's it going to look like? And that's the big area that we're looking for a lot of the inputs on. What do you want that thing to look like? You know, what program? You know, if you look at it this way, it gives us the opportunity to be more creative if we want to. It gives us the opportunity to do different programs. It gives us the opportunity to do things that we may have been constrained and not been able to do the way we are now. So look at it as an opportunity. Don't look at it as a penalty.
And can I just say something as with my citizen hat on?
Yes.
When you put that out there, because I think I'm trying to put myself in all of your shoes, and you know, as the one person on the board, on the committee that has a child in the school, I'm very happy with the way things are. So it's hard for me as somebody out there to go to that microphone and say, this is what we should do, because I get really, really passionate about education and kids, so I'm sorry if I start to yell. But I think we have a very good system and we have a very good school. So for someone to say, come up here and tell me what you want to see what I want is what we have. That's what I want. So, you know, again, so it's hard for me to take this hat off and play that role, but I kind of felt like I had to, because I can get it why people aren't able to go up there. Because I think we want what we have, and you're saying it's for the kids. Well, if it's for the kids, then why are we changing it? Because I know a student who was in middle school here at Jordan Small, was not thriving at all in a small school environment. And because we were an RSU, she went to Wyndham Middle School and was thriving there. And you know what? If it's for the kids, then that should be able to stay the same. So why are we changing it if it's for the kids? That's my concern.
And that
so
can
now
stay
you
the
know
same.
that the committee is well balanced.
We are, and we are seeing it from Kate's side, which is good. And there's no reason why we cannot do that. But I guess I'm also looking at it, because the kids always come first. I'm also looking at it, you know, I put my selectman hat on, and I get a letter from an 83-year-old lady that says, I can't pay those taxes. I'm on a fixed income. And if our taxes go up because we're paying for a facility down there, what do I do? And I get phone calls from other people. I got like 2 private instant messages, don't even know these people, and says, thank you. And so you got to look at the whole perspective. And I get what you're saying, but there's no reason why, if we have a superintendent here and a superintendent where that school is, they can't make a superintendent's agreement to keep that because it's just not working here. And that's what's... You don't think that'll happen?
No, I do not.
Do you think if they're
My opinion. it will not.
but do you think if they're in that class now?
No, because it also
Sorry, podium.
I'll step aside for you.
Well, and I think it's also it's not someone who's in a class right now. It's someone in the pipeline. It's that
Oh,
kid
I've
in
seen
the
people that
pipeline.
have gone down
Well,
there.
It's that kindergartner.
And schools don't like to accept children that are going to cost money. So if we have a student here who is having difficulty and needs a lot of extra support, another school is not going to accept them because they're not part of their town, so they're not going to want to pay for that.
I see what you're saying, because the special ed part of it's a
Okay,
lot more expensive.
But what we had,
Sorry,
and
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what we had
when
in the
we had
past-
contracts with school districts, special ed was part of the contract that they had to accept those kids as part of the contract. So, you know,
But that's,
But
that's high
that's,
school.
but that's right, that's when they're older, not when they're at the elementary level,
So,
or the middle school level.
but what makes you think we can't provide the services here?
Well, so people are saying that, it's not about the money, it's not about the money, but it is about the money. People that, a lot of people that want us to separate is because of the money, because they feel like Raymond is paying a lot of Wyndham's budget. And then you say that it's all about the kids, but you haven't given us any numbers to prove that.
It's early stages.
Well, I know,
Yeah.
but you're saying don't worry about that.
No, we're
But
not.
you haven't given us the numbers to show that we shouldn't worry.
Back in the 90s, we had 2 special ed kids in Raymond that cost $200,000 a year each. We funded them. We didn't say, no, we're not going to do it.
Well, you have
We-
to by law.
Yes.
But with their exactly. Did you just throw that snowball?
You have
But
to
what
by
I'm
law.
saying is, you're sitting there saying, well, if we have special ed kids, we're not going to pay for them. No, that's not true. We have to by federal
No,
law.
but my
Education is personal, and kids may not work here, and they may work better in another school system.
yeah, Joe. My example
But
was
we
just
also,
Okay,
but we also shift kids
wait a minute.
to other schools for their education.
my
Let's-
example
let's-
was
let's
not
keep-
a
let's keep
special ed
this- let's
student.
keep
It was
the-
a normal like mainstream classroom student that, and it was a middle school example, so it wasn't a high school where they could have school choice. So again, that's one example, and I get it, it's just one kid, but man, if we fail one kid in our town, then we've failed a lot of kids in our town, is the way
get that.
my philosophy
Okay,
is.
but what we're, I mean, it goes to the point of what we're trying to get tonight. We're trying to hear where the concerns are. We said at the outset, we're not gonna have answers to every question at this point because we're not at that point yet. But what we wanna know is where are the concerns? So that's out, we understand that. But, keep in mind too, that when we are running it on our own here, special ed was the highest dollar item in the budget. So to say that we wouldn't support that, I think is not correct when history proves that we did.
Anywhere we could cut the budget, I was on the school board at the time, unfortunately, it was regular ed, because you cannot cut the special ed budget, because certain things of course, everything needs to be met on that. So I always felt like the regular ed kids were getting things cut from them all the time, and that budget was pretty big.
So I'm supposed to say my name, Susan Brackett, 47 Flower Drive.
You already said it once.
Well, she told me to say it
Any
again.
part in front of
She
that.
told me to say it again.
I wanted to say.
Lost my train of thought. I am just speaking from being part of Raymond, both before and after. Like Kate said, I feel like right now our students are getting what they need. And my concerns, and again, I don't have any money to back it up, just as you don't have any money to back it up. But my concerns are that moving forward, the services will dramatically be decreased.
Based on what? Just your
Again,
gut telling you that?
based on, you guys feel you don't have you can't back it up
You're
with
on
money.
that side,
I
right.
can't back it up with money. I'm just expressing my concern. You wanted to know what you were concerned about. That's my concern.
Can we possibly negotiate, again, it would be in the contracts for these schools, again, that would take our kids elementary or whatever, that they would be open? I don't know if that's something that schools can do, because boards change. So what happens is anything that one board does, it may not be carried to the next board all the time, because they may vote to change it. So maybe that's something that can be, negotiated as far as with the school, of saying, look, we have a student here, and I know what you're saying, because of being on the school board before, that was an issue, you know what I mean? And so, I don't know, that would have to me, come down to like a contract negotiation type thing with the schools to say, okay, if we go with this, are you possibly open to elementary, middle school kids too? I don't know, you know what I mean, but maybe that's something, because that's a concern of yours right now that we would keep in mind to discuss too. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay. No, yeah, well, I'm just thinking anything that we can do, again, I'm sitting there for the money, for the kids, for both, to be honest. I think it's something we need to negotiate on that.
Hi, I'm Beth Peavy, the assistant principal at Raymond Elementary School, and I live at 36 Valley Road. My kids have gone to school through this system. We've been here for about 14, 15 years, so pre-RSU 14 and part of the RSU 14. I know this is a lengthy process because I came from another district to Raymond that just separated and went through this process. Something to consider as the further that you go, it does impact the morale of the community, of both communities, before, during, and after. It impacts students in the classroom when teachers are concerned with if they're going to still have a job and what their contract looks like, because you really only can guarantee for that 1 year after you've separated, and then you're renegotiating their contract. So that makes some teachers uneasy. Some leave, and then you lose some of your best teachers. My children went through this system when it wasn't part of the RSU 14, and I thought this was a wonderful place. We specifically left another district that I worked in because I knew what Raymond was about. My kids were still here because we are in RSU 14 and because of the piece that we have choice. We still have a lot of positives that other districts don't have. What I fear for our students is if you do separate, for the kids that still go to Wyndham, how they're going to feel, because we're going to be back to, oh no, those are the Raymond kids. It's not going to be an easy transition for them. It's more of a choice for the parents to figure out where to place them in other school districts. You're going to be talking about transportation. I'm also hearing, like Mrs. Brackett had said, it's not about the cost, it's about the kids. But the reason we're here was about the cost. As you said, you get emails from people that are on a fixed income. Insurance is rising. People can't afford for our budget to increase. Special education in any district is the largest portion of what the cost is. And you can't guarantee from year to year what that's going to happen because of a student that moves in and has high needs. And what then I just heard was that, well, the area we take from is regular ed. Well, that means back in the day when we were just in our Raymond Elementary and Jordan Small, we had many more teachers, 3 to 4 teachers per grade level. Jordan Small was full. So what do you take away when we only have 2 or 3 teachers per grade level? And the reason we have maybe 3 teachers per grade level is because we have some Wyndham kids in our building. Will we have Wyndham kids wanting to come to our school if we have a separation? These are a lot of things to consider. The last piece I just want to add is that our Title I percentage free and reduced for Raymond Elementary is the lowest in the district. We're at 29.9%. That's below usually when you can get federal funding. So we have Title I support, interventionist, a standard-based interventionist. What does that mean if we are in a district on our own? Will we lose those fundings? That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
You know, if this is truly about the money, we would not have school choice. School choice is expensive. So if it's truly about the money, we have an RSU and all our kids can go to Wyndham.
I think we're just struggling with, it's not the money, and then it's the woman who emails me about her tax money, right? That's a money issue. The cost of the bus garage, that's a money issue. So, we're just saying have a candid and open, honest discussion, and obviously money is a huge part of it, which is fine. That's fine. That's part of your fiscal responsibility as a select board. And,
I'm not a
but-
selectman.
yes, I know.
I'm
yes,
not
I know.
either.
And you weren't a state legislature, and you know, you're not in politics, and you're really the regular citizen.
There
I'm
you
sorry,
go.
Joe. I'm sorry.
I am.
I'm glad we have Kate, because I'm glad we have at least an age balance. But I just want to say, so I just mean
So-
the
so
kids.
now-
Well, I mean,
So now I'm old.
Yeah, but I'm in that one
Sorry,
too. Like, well.
sorry. I'll leave right after this. Mother of the year, my kids have a bag of chips and they're sitting here, right? So we all have our stuff. But anyway, so I heard you say you have to negotiate a contract, and two concerns that I think that should be addressed in those that I think we've heard are that we need to keep, our students need to be able to continue through Wyndham that are there, and any Wyndham students that are here in Raymond, to the extent they wish to continue, need to be allowed to continue through the system.
So grandfather kids.
Yeah, I think that's really important. My daughter's part of the smallest class to go through Raymond Elementary. We can't field the basketball team. I mean, I don't know if you appreciate the difference from 1986 about like how you're even going to field sports teams, how you're, you know, at the middle school level. I mean, you're just going to, it's so small now. It's so small with the declining population. And as we know, the entire state's population's in decline, and ours is even faster. In this town, so I think you have to reevaluate that. Don't get stuck in, we did it once, and so now it's exactly the same. And
The
I'd
number
also,
of kids in 1986 is equivalent to what we have now.
and did you have just one building, or
No, we had,
one
we had,
building?
yeah, during small, yeah.
Just one building. Yeah, that's what I thought. So
There were outbuildings.
okay, okay. I don't support outbuildings. To be
We're in
clear for the
one now.
record.
We're in
But
one now.
I also really hate to hear demanding, you know, as Raymond residents, I believe that we all get a visceral reaction to the idea that our kids be forced to go to Wyndham for any reason. And I think that goes the other way too. I don't like hearing that Wyndham should just ship their kids here. You know, they have a community. They chose to move to their community for a reason, for a lot of the same reasons we chose to move to our communities. And we shouldn't look at them and say, we don't understand why you don't want to send your kids there, because we don't want to send our kids there, right? So let's be a little fair in that. I'm just saying, I don't want to send my kids to Wyndham. I don't want to force people from Wyndham to send their kids here. Nobody likes a long bus ride. That's what happened in Sebago, right? But they were trying to force them into a long bus ride. So just, you know, be really cognizant of all those things. And the final issue is talk to them about a bigger voice on the school board. I have run into that. I've run into issues in dealing with the school board. I wonder if they're any better or worse than any board I would run into, because, you know, you
That
don't always
becomes-
agree with policy, so.
That's a constitutional issue.
Yeah.
One man, one vote.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you know, I encourage
Can
consideration.
I ask you a question on what you said about teams?
Sure. Yeah.
It's my understanding from talking to a couple parents that Raymond still is their own division regarding middle school softball, boys basketball, and stuff like that. They have not consolidated the Wyndham Raymond teams. Am I
No,
correct?
but they
on
have
that?
to pull sixth graders, right? Currently, they don't have enough seventh and eighth grade kids
Yep.
to man the teams, and a lot of times have to pull sixth graders. Where Wyndham at the same time is cutting half their teams, right? And my daughter's class is significantly smaller than the classes that are going through Jordan Small now. And I don't believe by any stretch of the imagination will they be able to field a basketball team, a softball team, or a soccer team.
Are they combining the 6 from Wyndham to Raymond here for the ones that maybe they're cutting?
No, they have to take the sixth graders from Raymond for a seventh and eighth grade team, because you don't even have enough kids. And as populations continue to decline, you're going to continue to have that. I think they absolutely should. I think they should consider, if you were cut from the Wyndham team, you should come here. I think we should pool our assets a lot more. I think we are so
that's one
lucky.
of
We
my
have a
issues. Yep.
small town with a small school that's equivalent to a private school education, but we get the resources. My kids play on all travel teams in Wyndham. I'm lucky. I wonder if we walk away, if they are still as open to that anymore.
They had
I
that
wonder.
before.
No,
They
I
did
know.
have it before.
No,
yeah.
I know, but once we irritate them, I mean, we're all negotiators, right? I don't know if I wouldn't take my ball and go home too. I
You
just put that
you
out.
make the assumption that they
You're
would
gonna
be
hate us.
spiteful.
Yeah.
And I don't
Well,
look at it that way.
I gotta say the Wyndham schools and the Raymond schools have the best teachers, and you know what? And I think that they're the ones that are carrying the kids through all of this. And I have nothing through this whole process, nothing against anybody that works in the schools. I do have a problem with the administration as far as and the school board not consolidating these two together better is what it is. You know what I mean? And I think our kids that do go from you know, the high school, when they get in the 8th grade, I mean 9th grade or whatever, in the sports teams, I think they struggle harder because I think if they were intermingled beforehand and got to know them, they would build that friendship and they would do better on teams and sports and stuff like that. So I think the school board, there's several layers of school board members, by the way. I think they would have done better.
Yeah, well, it happens a lot at the rec level, and we have a job to do there, right? I think we need to do better
Yeah.
jobs at the rec level and incorporating with Wyndham as well.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I endeavor to work on that. That's all I say. Thank you for your time.
No,
and
thank you.
As much information as possible. I just encourage you, we'd all probably feel less concerned with a lot more information.
Well, I wish we had more information, but I think we've only had 2 meetings. And so we wanted to get more public input as quick as possible, is what we did, so.
Just,
Hey, Kayla.
you know, I heard Kate said she likes what she has. Well, all you're really talking about is the governance of the school. You know, that you're gonna have your own school board. And if you have everything that you currently have available to you, what difference is it if it's just the governance?
Well, to me, it's not just the governance. It's the fact that we can pull from a lot of the resources that we have as a district. We have a curriculum coordinator. We have, in my opinion, wonderful administration. You know, we can pull from. We have a great director of student services. You know, so we can pull from those resources, and all of that is supporting our students. We have the math coach that was mentioned. We have a ski team now at Jordan Small. But who knows? That's because we're combined. We have wrestling that's being offered. You know, those are things that are offered because of the way things are right now. So
The ski
That's-
team we've had for a long time. The only thing different, I think, is they have to pay for the buses now. Before, they used to have the
Free
bus, somebody,
buses.
they used to have free buses.
that was the rec, I think.
Yeah, that was Raymond Road.
The rec.
Oh, all right.
That's different.
Okay.
That's different. This is like a high school or middle school competitive team.
Oh, cool. So
Yeah.
it's something adding, just like the high
So they're
school
being
added
upgraded.
hockey or whatever. Yeah, so they add things. That's great.
So those are things. And then if we do have, like Beth mentioned, we have no idea who could move into this town tomorrow. And they could be so high need that we just had a presentation at the school board from Lisa Garno. And it was one place that you have to, that we send a student out of district is $600 a day. We have zero control over who moves into this town.
But
And
that's always been the
if
case.
I get that, but as a small town where we are very fiscally conservative, where are those cuts going to happen? Music, art, gym? That's where my brain goes. Not saying that's where it would happen, but that's where my brain goes. If we're a much larger district, that may be absorbed a little bit easier, or we can at least keep those programs because we can share teachers with Wyndham Middle School and Jordan Small, and keep some of those very, very important enrichment programs for our students. I think Kayla.
Oh, Kayla called her out.
Kayla Gonzalez. I'm at 518 Webbs Mills Road. I'd like to say a couple things. The town offers a newsletter. You can subscribe to that, and that'll let you know when meetings are. And I know that these meetings were posted on the website and on Facebook, because I did it. I was also part of the RSU Withdrawal Committee 3 years back.
Right.
We didn't go that far, but I had just moved to the town, and I knew I'd have kids in the system, so I was concerned, but a neutral party. 3 years later, I have 2 children, a kindergarten and a first grader, and they are doing amazing, excellent. I'm very pleased with their education, but I'm still neutral. And I'm still neutral because what's the harm in exploring our options as a town and as a community? And why can't we provide the same, if not better, education than we are now? Maybe we can, maybe we can't. I don't know the answers to that because I don't think we've gone far enough down the road. I'm just as much of a mama bear as anybody else in the world. My kids are my everything. So I wouldn't vote for anything that I thought was going to hurt their education. But I don't know what I'm voting for yet. That's the honest truth. I have no idea. So if we were to hold the vote, I wouldn't know what to do with that yet because we don't know enough yet. So I just urge everybody to wait a little bit longer and see what else comes out of this, because maybe we can do better. I think we can do better with sharing some of our resources as a town that we don't do now with a school. I feel very, like we are very separated as a town and a school unit. Maybe we can do something with that, maybe we can't. But I am very happy now with my kids' education. And I don't want that to change. Thank you.
And I would encourage people, we hold our school board meetings, every other meeting is in Raymond. Those seats are usually empty.
So are select board
Yeah,
meetings.
please come, please. And you will be equally heard from the Raymond reps as you would the Wyndham reps.
We're not gonna let you out tonight, because this is the most we've had in
I
here
know.
for any meetings.
Sue?
I know, I've been, third time I've been up here, so.
No.
Sorry, you have to pay for the fourth time.
I know. I want to continue with your conversation about the resources for kids that help spread the cost out. I was on the last budget year that we were a part of, we were by ourselves. I was on the budget committee. So I got very familiar with our budget at that point, in our school budget, and it had been going up quite a bit. And there were two things that I thought were interesting, that our per pupil cost was one of the highest in the states. And also our special ed costs were crushing us. I mean, and there was really not a lot we could do about that, because if we had to send a kid out, that's $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year, because we didn't have the resources to have the programs that we have in a bigger district. Now in Wyndham, being combined with Wyndham, there's a big life skills program, there's a day treatment program in all the schools. We couldn't do that in Raymond. We couldn't do it. How could you develop a whole program for one or two kids? So we were forced to have to send those kids out. That was the best for them at the time. But combining with Wyndham, you can see that there's cost effectiveness in numbers, and with what you buy for supplies to the kind of programming that we can do. And I just don't know if, I know it's not about the money, but it is about the money. And I think our budget was increasing quite a bit. And our enrollment was going down. So I just really, I think it's important to know that. And I don't think it would change now either.
No, the number of special ed students are going up every year. I mean, it's.
And
it's
our
just a
special
fact.
ed numbers were huge.
Yeah,
Were
They're
huge.
going up every year.
Yeah.
We just had a presentation the other day.
Yeah, you have to spread it out. So, I mean, it's just hard for small districts to deal with this. I was watching the news today, and I was looking at what was going on in Jay with the superintendent. And the principal, he let the principal go, but what they were doing was combining the principal with the middle school principal, because they're suffering. These small schools are suffering, and they're trying to find ways to save money without taking it away from the kids. So that's what they're doing. So, I mean, it's hard, and I think it's just, I think overall, in the long run, we should be able to get our differences straightened out with Wyndham and, and stay as a team, really. I mean, I think that I'd be important for people in this town. And I worked for both school systems, so.
I forgot to mention the most important thing that I wanted to ask that we negotiate: nutrition services. The food.
I've already mentioned that, trust me.
The food is excellent. The fact that we partner with community farms here, my kids eat way better at school than they eat at home. That's how well, sometimes, I'm a try. But they get great food. So if we could somehow make sure that we
I've already
keep
mentioned
That was
that
one
because
of the things we all wanted
I
for the thing.
like to not have to pack a cold lunch for my child.
Yes, yes. The nutrition
hot lunch
services
every
that we
day.
have right now are amazing. So I would like to keep that somehow.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, last time, I promise. But Jessica Madsen, 32 Crescent Shore Road. I think what I'm gathering from everybody is that it would be very helpful for this process moving forward if we were to take a snapshot of what we have currently at Jordan Small and at Raymond Elementary School, and we were to see dollar for dollar what that would look like if we were to continue to carry that as is. So in looking at services, if you're looking at special education services, or you're looking at speech and language service, OT, PT, you really need to think the kids are going to have to continue to have those services, and a lot of times when we start to trim budgets, those are positions that we say, oh, maybe we can get away with a half-time person or a third-time person, or do we need to have 3 full-time special educators if we only have IEPs that suggest we need to have 1.5? You cannot get half-time positions anymore. So it's always something that I think we come down to. Yes, does the IEP state that we only need to have a half-time person? Yes. You cannot hire people to take half-time jobs anymore. It's really, we are struggling to retain teachers. Teachers are leaving the profession at high rates, very high rates. It's just in the Wall Street Journal, it's very hard. I mean, there's open positions. If you go on serving schools right now, there's open positions, and a lot of them are part-time positions, because if you can't fill full-time positions, people definitely aren't gonna take part-time positions. So again, if we're gonna do this, look at what we have right now and look at what we would be giving up, and we shouldn't have to give up everything. If we're going to have a curriculum coordinator, we need to have a curriculum coordinator, literacy coaches, math coaches, Title I, OT, PT, special education director, all of that. All the things we have right now, if we're going to do this, show me how we can do it with the money that we have, because that's what's best for kids. And that's what we know is best for kids, is what we have right now. So let's show us that we can do this as a town. And then I think you may have more people that would have buy-in. I just don't know. I mean, I hear $10 million, and I just presented my budget to the school board, and it's a lot of money, you know, and 10 million goes pretty fast in education, you know, definitely. And so I want to just make sure that we are transparent, that we are not going to compromise anything through this process, that we're going to retain not only the staff, but to the level of staff that we've had full-time positions for, that are going to continue to do those jobs, just, I guess, serving just Raymond schools and not in partnership with them. And I don't know. Be a lot to take on, but if we can do it, then that would be wonderful. But I don't want to see us compromise what we have right now, because it's working. Thank you.
Sean Goss, Billy Hill Road. Just to comment on hers, you were talking about things that you don't want to give up. Well, when we consolidated, the town of Raymond gave up a lot to Wyndham. So keep that in mind. And then you guys can probably know what I'm talking about. You've been around long enough.
There we go, I'm getting called old again.
Well, I'm just as old.
I have no idea what he's talking about.
You're not old enough.
Yeah.
But I know at one time Raymond had great arts, and computer classes, and you know, to my understanding, Wyndham just came and wiped everything out. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, if I'm wrong, then you know. And that might go to rumors that you were referring to. I don't know.
Well,
Beth-
that's what.
Whoops, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, you go.
Beth Peavy, 36 Valley Road, and those are rumors.
Okay.
We have a great art teacher in both buildings. Yes, we do share with Wyndham Primary School. Our students have an extra special a week that the other schools do not have. We also, what was your other, computer class. 3rd and 4th grade does have computer class. They actually have computers in their classrooms. 2nd grade, 3rd, 4th grade have 1-to-1 computers in their classrooms. So technology's changed. So back then our kids, because my kids and your kids grew up together, had to go to a lab to learn keyboarding. Yeah. Well, we're not learning just keyboarding anymore. We are learning how to use our computers in our education.
Are they throwbacks from Wyndham's old computers to Raymond?
No, we have brand new nice computers.
Yeah.
And Jordan Small got new ones this year.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
no wonder the budget went up.
and
I'm only kidding.
That's another piece you need to consider is the technology, because of the contracts that they have for replacing these every so many years. So that's a huge piece of the budget too, is your technology.
But they were pretty old.
Well, they're not anymore.
There you go. That's good. And I actually got a text from somebody that says that works in the high school that says your kids up in their elementary school are going to be getting my used computers, and I said I need to stop this. Yeah. So
well, what do you have in your classroom?
Well, we have 1-to-1, but we also got iPads this
Yeah.
year. But I was at Wyndham Primary, and we had throwbacks from the high school at Wyndham Primary, so it's not like they were throwing.
And that's typical.
Well, and I'm okay with throwbacks, but 9 years old, you know what I mean?
Well, if they're in Apple, you can get away with that. If you go to a Dell, like they did at one point, that's a concern because you can't, okay? So, but Apple computers, but we are pretty much, I mean, these kids are walking around with upgraded laptops that most parents may not even have. They have iPads in the classroom. We have smart TVs in the classrooms. So they're always upgrading the technology. So that is a huge budget cost
So
too.
that's all new then?
Yes.
My pigeon worked.
But technology, you have to have a plan because it's costly. Like when you budget at home, so is it, do you fix your roof or do you get your next computer? Priorities.
Let's see. No, it depends on what room it's leaking in.
But we've always had technology up
Yeah.
No, Sue.
I hear a lot of we've always had, and I want to say my kids went through. My son started at Jordan Small School in kindergarten,
And he was with
and
Ben.
then moved over across the way. So when I came back to this district and started working in the bill at RES, I said to my kids, "You are very fortunate to have gone through this school system, through this school and this school system." Granted, one of my older child went to a private school, but that's what she needed. My other two flourished in Wyndham High School, but I had choice, and that was important. But they also had a very well-rounded education here. Now, do we meet everyone's needs, every child's needs? You try. But for some kids, the way we have it set up now in our educational system, it doesn't work for them. But we can separate from Wyndham and do project-based learning. And for some kids, they don't thrive with that. So, you know, it's really looking at the individual students is what it comes down to. I think we give them a solid education. I feel like we do try to meet parents, and it's a small community, very small, live right down the road, see everybody everywhere you go. So that I don't think would change. I'm concerned about the change of the longevity. What really will it look like? And you can't answer that because it's going to be about 2 years before you really have some figures. I think for the public, they don't know what those 22 steps are. I came from a district and I was there, and I still don't know what those 22 steps were, and I worked in the district, but I knew it was a lot of negotiating. So in the process of those 22 steps, is there a point where maybe you say, we're reaching an agreement with the district and we don't go all the way through?
We did that last
That's what happened the
That's
last
what
time.
we did last time.
So maybe at the next meetings, really outlining what the 22 steps look like and putting it out there, what
It's
is
on the
real.
website.
It is in
If you go on the Town of Raymond website, it's under Raymond RSU Withdrawal, and it would be the 17-18 one is what it is.
And what
There's two
step
of them.
are you on now?
8.
Yes.
Okay. And, you know, I think we came here, I wasn't sure, I was just coming thinking you were going to give information today. How many of you came here thinking you were getting information?
Well, and we
Yeah.
put on there, I put on my Facebook or wherever that we were asking questions and getting input that we don't have answers. So, yeah, so.
Yeah, so, well, I think it kind of threw us all off, so we're trying to, you know, get all our thoughts. So it's, you know, I think it's important for maybe coming forward at the next meeting and saying, these are the points we've heard from the community. What are the most important areas? Because, excuse me?
That was pretty clear. That was made pretty clear.
Well, I think we have a lot of different points, but what are the top priorities?
Yeah, you have to do the microphone, sorry. It's not on the film, it's what happens.
I mean, I assure you, I wrote down what everyone was saying.
He's got a list.
Sue has been keeping a record of what everybody has been saying. So we're gonna use that information as we go forward.
Yeah.
You know, we're a year and a half out from
Oh, I know.
even really thinking about where we're going.
Right.
But we're also new at this, like you guys are new at it. So
Right.
we're all taking the steps slowly and one at a time, and that's one of the reasons why we want this all televised too. So anything that's on record is the public record, so we can go back and refer to it. But these steps, yeah, I think The only time that we voted as a board was, and I think Kate was on it too, was not to move forward. And that was also when we had a panel too, subcommittee. And that's when we said, nope, we're gonna stop this process because we came to the cost sharing agreement and the major capital improvement agreement.
But even at that point, there still was a town vote required
Yes.
to act on the
To not move
recommendation, to
forward.
act on,
Right.
to say not moving forward. So at the end of the day, this board ultimately would give a recommendation,
To not
but
move forward.
it's still, either to go forward or not go forward, and the town has the final vote on it that says either yes or no. So, but we're a ways from there, but the whole key is, let's keep the lines of communications open. Let's get the inputs, and if there's thoughts and things that you have, drop an email,
Doesn't matter
get
what it
information
is.
to us.
So at your informational meetings at different points, you'll be giving some of those figures. Because I'm also considering when you become a smaller district, what does that look like for federal funds or state funding? What are you as a cost receiver of funding?
Sure.
And that will shift and change. So then we may be carrying more of the load depending on, because we have people that live on the water and pay those taxes. So it may look a little different. So there's a lot of different components, and I think,
And some of that,
That's why we
some of
wanna
that
keep
comes,
these-
some of that comes from the state, some of it comes from other sources.
Right.
And that's information that the consultant is pulling in and things like that. So, that's all needed in order to develop the budget. I mean,
Well-
if you don't know what your income stream is, you don't know what, you may know what your costs are. You still have, they have to be verified, but you do have an income stream that offsets some of that. And if you don't know what that is, then, but what happens is the state will give a final, a figure to us that says, if you, it says, if you separate, here's what the town share will be.
Right.
So we, that is a figure that the state the DOE will give to us. It says, okay, if you do separate, here's what your state share will be.
It's already out there. You can see what the
279.
Raymond share is of state funding versus Wyndham. There's a huge gap. I mean, we are a minimal receiving
right,
town,
right.
which is a 5% minimum of state funds. It's always been that way because a lot of people don't realize that Raymond's per capita income is like 4th or 5th in the whole state, behind like Cape Elizabeth, Falmouth, Yarmouth.
Right.
It's a wealthy community. So, to me, there's a lot of flexibility there in the tax base. So,
This meeting too wasn't
Yeah.
one of the ones that was on the timeline. We wanted to get
Oh,
input.
okay.
Yeah, this was not a forced meeting. This is
Okay.
one that we wanted to reach out
So
to the
if
public.
we sign up for on the site for the newsletter, is it the newsletter?
Yes.
I think it-
Newsletter, so upcoming meetings, it'll say what the focus is.
Yeah, upcoming meetings, they get publicized on the website. They're also on the electronic boards.
I see it on the electronic boards.
We would like to be able to have it sent to the school and have it disseminated out there. However, that has not been an avenue that's been open to us.
Yeah.
If that ever changes, then, we can do that. But, if we can get it out to the PTO and they can distribute it, great. I mean, the whole point is trying to, get the inputs. We don't want it to be perceived as happening behind closed doors. We want the inputs. We want to know what people are thinking, because at the end of the day, you're going to make, there's a big decision that has to be made at the end of the road. And if you don't have information to get you there, then, where are you? I mean, you're certainly going to have a percentage of people that are going to vote without any knowledge. But, we hope that people are going to have, we're striving to get information, our goal is to get information out so people can make an informed decision.
The
All-
executive sessions won't be though. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So,
But that's,
That's your negotiation,
Yeah.
so.
that's,
All I ask is that the communication gets out there, and not everybody has the technology. Actually, in our school, we did a survey of parents, and it was, as much as we are technology driven, there's a lot that are not using the technology if it doesn't directly go right to their email or to their text. if they have to go and look for it, they're not accessing it. So you may have to go to the old-fashioned way of sending something email with accurate figures and information so they can make an opinion and a decision based on what's accurate. And I know you're going, the law has the process, so you're going to go through that process and figure out how much it will cost at the end. I just have to say, either way, we're always going to do what's best for our students at the school, but think beyond the first year as status quo, because that's great and wonderful, but it's after that, when you don't have the status quo for a year and you have to negotiate contracts, and what is that really going to look like? Insurance, and, do we have better benefits because, better benefits because we are an RSU. So I don't have those answers, but that's, digging deeper and figuring out what is the long-term effects. We don't want to be down 5 to 10 years and find out, yes, we do a great job at educating our students and we're a close community, but we do have to cut services because we can't increase taxes. Because I remember the years of listening to the select board and taxes in the community that we can't go up.
Yeah. Well, what about, when you're talking about the emails, how do you suggest we get those email lists? Do you know what I mean? Because I will sit and send out every email I can every time that we have a meeting, and that's just it. That's what I think I miss of having our schools back here. You could send stuff through the schools, and that was a big avenue.
Yeah.
I know some of my parents that come in the daycare in the morning going, oh my God, I haven't gone through their folders from the night before, hurry up, doing homework or pulling the notices, but at least it was a notice that was put in there. So anything that we can do to get out, and you think social media is a big thing, but maybe 5% is actually really seeing it, I think.
I mean, the district I came from, they used a lot of technology, and we could send, information home. We had a Facebook page, but really what it came down to is trying to get the word out, public meetings, and they even had to do mailings. So with accurate figures and not a position on one way or the other, but this is exactly what it's going to cost.
That would be great towards the end, when we can do that and lay it all out. Here's what it is, this is what this is both sides, without one side or the other,
Right. All right,
Dawn?
next.
Well, Don Willard, Town Manager, and before I start, I should say that I've been in business for almost 40 years, so probably you should discount what I might say about anything. But I'll tell you that I've seen a lot of schools. I've been in a number of different towns, a lot of town-school relationships. When I came here, I was struck by a number of things, but most notably the whole schools of excellence notion, the small-town way of doing things. I think Walter Lunt at the beginning talked about the notion of bigger, not necessarily better. It's not necessarily worse either, but I have seen since the RSU merger, the dismantling, of course, of the One Raymond program. That was something I was very proud of, because it was something that I worked to initiate when I first came here. Didn't originate it. It came from the town of Cape Elizabeth. It's still in force in the town of Cape Elizabeth. Basically, the tenets of that is that the town should work cooperatively, collaboratively, town and school together, to share financial, to share human resources, to share wherever possible for the mutual benefit of both parties. That went away with the RSU. And I get it. I mean, Wyndham doesn't do it, so we have to be equal. But that, to me, was a place where equal wasn't better. And so I was really discouraged with that. And I was discouraged with what I have seen as sort of the loss of the small town feeling between the town and the school, the level of communication, the give and take, the working together. I think of the days when we had the print Roadrunner. And, I think of the future of the town. And to me, the future of the town is, will we be a vital and desirable place to be? People talk about coming here because of the schools. I agree. The Raymond school system had, and I think has deservedly so, a great reputation. But that's what's important to me. Schools of excellence, academy-level schools. I think that we have an opportunity, possibly, I'm keeping an open mind about it, an opportunity to restore that notion and that reality. And I think there's a real possibility that it could be better than it is now. And it could be something that is actually a driving force to our town moving forward positively in the future. Raymond needs to be a desirable place. It needs to attract young people, young families, and I think the schools are the center of all that. I have a lot of thoughts about Wyndham Schools. I just had to put a kid through Wyndham Schools. He ended up being successful, and I thought after kind of a bumpy deal, though, coming out of Raymond, where it's real high touch, real high care, to Wyndham, where it's a big Class A kind of school, different thing. But I would agree, there's anything and everything you could possibly want there. But it's easy to get lost there, too. Very easy to get lost there. And I remember my first parent-teacher conference where I said to my wife, let him be his own man. He needs to go to school and take care of his own business. But everything is done, as you pointed out, Beth, everything's done electronically. And I was told that, well, basically all our communications are electronic. And so, that's how we do business. And I do worry about the digital divide, the fact that there are haves and have-nots in our communities. A lot of people don't have the computers. You're telling us we should mail notices. I don't disagree. I think we should. And I think the schools should also do that. You don't. And so we missed some communications that caused us to be behind the 8 ball in that first quarter for our son. And so I remember going to the guidance counselor where he told me, don't worry, half the kids here in Wyndham are in the same boat. And I said, well, that's not success for all. That's something far less than that. So I was very, very concerned about Wyndham Schools and Wyndham in general. But, we got attuned to the system. He was lucky, stay-at-home mom who could help him and could guide him and could get him through the system. She did. It worked out fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with Wyndham. I think Wyndham's, a great Class A big school. But I say just look at what we had. Look at the possibility that, we could do something special here and above the C average. Is that what we are, basically? About a C average, a middle of the road sort of system. I'd like to be better than that. I'd like people to say, Raymond is a place I want to live. I want to bring my family. I want to raise my children because we have extraordinary schools. And I still think we do have extraordinary schools here in Wyndham. I don't know about the rest of the system.
Sean?
Too much.
No.
I wasn't going to speak.
You were a citizen there, Don.
Yeah.
Well, I came not wanting to speak, but
He couldn't help
Couldn't
himself.
help yourself.
I couldn't help myself. That's right.
I was going to kind of mention the same thing about the messages in the backpacks. There's no way that would happen today
No, because
in
it's
the
school,
super
yeah.
school that we have. Okay, but my final thought was a lot of the concerns that were raised here tonight were raised when we separated. And guess what? The sky didn't fall. Okay, it's not going to fall if changes are made. Change is difficult. But we had a great school prior to Wyndham, before we were being strong-armed by Wyndham. I think we can have an even better school if we have some open minds.
That was fast. I'm Maria Pierce. I'm going to be moving here in a few months to Rolling Brook Road. So we're not here yet, but a big factor of our decision to move was the school system. I have a high schooler who's autistic, and I have a kindergartner, so I have to look way down here, way up here. I have to look at special needs. This one's in sports. I have a lot to look at. That was a huge factor. It took 5 years for us to decide on a town that we could afford to live in, but more importantly, had a school system both of our sons could thrive in. So this is a little upsetting and concerning, but I do come here with an open mind because I know you say not financial. I don't know anything about that. So it's been really interesting hearing that, really eye-opening. I would encourage other people who come to have an open mind. If you're not in the school system, get that information. Don't come here and say, this is where I'm coming from, this is how it was, if you don't have that information, if you don't have those facts and numbers. And if you're in the school system and have that information, be open to the number aspect as well. You need to be really open on this, and I encourage that. This was really eye-opening, really appreciated this, and I felt like you were really eye-opening, which was really nice to hear that you
That was
submitted
good.
that, and you seemed really receptive, which was really nice. It felt really comfortable, but just keep an open mind. And just to piggyback on what Heather said, we're a young family. We moved here for the school district. That attracts people.
That's a huge, huge reason. So we really need to keep the school aspect, the kids, the programs, all of that into consideration. So that's it. Thank you.
Well, if I may.
Yep.
I moved here when I was 23 years old. Bought my first house in Raymond, and we moved here for the school district in 1980. Same thing as everybody else. People moved to Raymond back then because of the school district, and we want it to continue to be that. You know, I don't like this perception that's out in the public. Well, there's 3 people against and 1 who wants to maintain the status quo. That is not true at all. You know, I was a chair last time of the withdrawal committee, and we ended up not withdrawing. I like to think I could keep that same open mind, that same look at the numbers, because the numbers are important. I can look at what can we provide as a town, what education will our kids receive, can they do better? That's all going to be a factor when we make a decision. But we're a long way from making that decision. A long, long way from making that decision. But we're gathering information. I appreciate all these comments. I really do. This is more comments than we got the last time, by the way. Yeah. At the last, 3 years ago, nobody came to the meetings.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It was like, okay, nobody wants to talk about this. And then, you know, this has been very helpful to us. And so please don't have this mindset that we're all opposed and Kate is the hero. And
She's tough, by the way.
she's
She
gonna
can
keep
be
our
the hero,
way
Joe.
up.
I am the hero.
Yeah.
No, but I will piggyback on that. I do think there is a very good mix on this committee, and I was worried at first coming in, like it's them against me, and I don't feel like it's been that way.
Not yet.
I don't always agree. I haven't opened up Joe's pocketbook yet for those programs I'm in charge of.
Yeah,
but
she says, now that I know I've got the programs, Joe, how much do you want to give?
so, but I you know, I do think that moving forward, you're in good hands with people who are open-minded, and they've been very open-minded to some of the things that I've mentioned, and I hope I have been the other way as well. So it's not like a them against me.
I see Jen sitting over here, another member of the school board. Anna. Oh, I'm sorry.
She was on the committee.
I look like
Yeah.
a gem, I don't
She was on the committee last time, and from that, who called you to run for school board? All right. I'm not as close-minded as a lot of you think I am. You know, I may be old. Sarah's left, and you know.
Are you saying she wouldn't be good? That
No,
she's
done
good.
a good
I know.
job.
I thought she is
Done
too.
a good
Yeah.
job. Yeah, but when she was on the committee last time, she had a lot of good questions, and I'm like, that's a good school board member. And I call her and say, hey, you ought to consider about running for school board. So I may be old and gray, and I may be that bad word Republican, but I like to think that I'm open-minded. So
You had 2 kids to the system, and so have I. You know, and mine went with Beth's, you know, too. And I was dead set against. We were withdrawing. We were withdrawing. I don't care what you people say the first time around. I don't. And you know what? I looked at the big picture. I really did. And it was not in our best interest the first time around when we had the consolidation, when we did that thing, and the town came out. So we're hearing Kate's side. And God, I hate saying this. Us older people that have had kids through the system that were here before, you guys are all hearing this for the first time of having your kids in the system. So it is new. So you haven't seen that other side of what we have seen. And I give a lot of our credit to the staff and to really seriously, because they carry it well, and they do what they have. But I see from your guys' side too, as a parent, you know what I mean? I'd be afraid to, and just know that this is literally one step in the dark that we're taking at a time. So we're gonna investigate, and that's why we don't want to hurry this to July 1st to hurry up and get an agreement together. That's not our goal. Our goal is to find everything we can. And we may say at the end, oh my God, this is not for us, or whatever. And we may say this is more money. But I think it is going to be too, but there's a lot of factors that I look at. Is the money, is the local control, is worrying about if we move forward with continuing with Wyndham, what other kind of agreements have we made with them that make it broke? You know, that we've already, that's why we went and voted last time, you know, and we trusted that, and I feel we got burned on that. So that was why, and honestly, this is my last time doing this, seriously. So whether we do it or not, I am not. And you know, I really had to think hard on this because I said, if I'm doing this again, I said, I'm not going to keep crying wolf. So I really felt, and I had a lot of good people to talk to about this whole thing too. And this, we didn't go at this quick. Like I said, we tried to go back door just to try to talk to Wyndham and the town of Wyndham and the school board. And we got the doors shut on us multiple times. So.
Hi, Heather Martin again, 37 Rolling Brook Road. Sorry, they changed all our numbers, which I'll talk to the town about separately now.
You've got 3 thoughts.
Oh yeah, I know. Come on.
Or 2.
Start talking about my title fees now. Just because I'm a newbie and I don't know the history of the school system before the consolidation, I'm assuming at one point it was a big discussion at this town that actually combining was going to be a better system. Like, why did it switch if it was an excellent, great thing? Just
why did we consolidate?
I
We
guess
were forced.
If you remember, the state passed
the state
a law.
law. Okay. No, I'm a newbie, so that's why I'm saying.
Back under the Baldacci administration,
Yeah.
there was an effort to consolidate schools to save money.
Yeah. Okay.
Cut down on administration,
Yeah.
more goes into schools.
Gotcha.
So they threatened to serve fines on us and cut funding and stuff like that.
And just so you know, the original discussion was Raymond, Wyndham, and Westbrook.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you should have seen the negotiations at that table. Joe and I wrote that, yeah.
So that was the original plan, was to combine all 3 of those school districts and then eventually bring Gorham in.
Okay, it's good to know the history.
We also checked with Poland. Poland wasn't big enough to take us. You had to have so many in the schools. And then we also looked at Gray. Gray, for some reason, just wasn't a fit. Actually, no, Poland wasn't big enough to take us. That's what it was. Gray just wasn't the fit for us. Wyndham was more towards that direction that we went with.
When they built that high school in Poland, they approached Raymond to be part of that high school, and it was because of the educational levels between the towns that Raymond said no.
Okay, thank you. And just one more question, just to understand the process going on too. I know we won't hit the deadline and you're gonna ask for an extension. When does $50,000 we approved
That's
to be
over
spent, over how many years?
2 years.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was wondering.
And what we did is we based that money based on what another town did.
Okay.
I worked a little bit with another town, Sebago, on their early stages is what it is. And I called them and asked them what they spent total. And I think they spent 54,000, I think is what it was. So
Is
last
that mostly
time,
consultant lawyer fees type
Yes.
stuff? Okay.
and what we did the first time was we did 25,000, and I think we only spent like 2,500 is what it was out of the first 25,000. It wasn't much at all. And then this one too is over the two years is what it is. So what we're hoping is with some of our own committees too that we can come up and do a lot of the work that it's going to give us answers, but not make believe answers either. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. No, thank you. It's been helpful.
I've seen a total different from when you first started with your questioning.
No, it's a passionate thing because
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's about the kids. It's not about the money,
And
I'll
your
lay it
mom,
out there.
yeah.
I'm an
I would
early
like to think we feel the same.
I'm an early childhood educator. There's been a lot of, I haven't heard any negative things about the school system. Any parents, any children I see, are enjoying the benefits of what they get from the shared services of the Wyndham School District. I'm a private early childhood educator in Wyndham. I recommend to some parents that some kids come into kindergarten from Wyndham because I just think they would thrive better in a smaller school. So I have students that have benefited that from Wyndham coming over. I think that's nice that Wyndham has that option to come over without being forced. I agree with whoever made the sentiment before. Nobody wants to be forced, if you're choosing a community to go to. So I see the other side of it too, that you know, would I have children that I had recommended be here now 3 years and then be told, sorry, you have to leave? You know, so I've got some personal investment in it myself. So I think that's the whole piece. Like, nobody knew why it was happening. All of a sudden, it was like you move into a town and you think this is how things are, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, there's this withdrawal thing going on, but there wasn't a lot of transparency going on, I think, was the feeling behind that of like, well, what is it? Is it a numbers game? Are we getting bad education? Like, was this a survey done by the parents at the schools? You know, so I think that was the piece that, you know, just felt like, well, why? You know?
And I get that.
Yeah.
And once again, I said, like, there's like 5%. I wish we knew how to get it. And besides knocking on everybody's door, I don't know how to get out, because we used to send everything through the school.
Yeah.
Send it, you know, you take it in, they would photocopy it, or you take it in the photocopies, and everything would go home that way. And one of the things that I've always done, I'm very vocal. Wait for the comment. During the selectmen meetings too, I would always say something during selectmen comment about what was going on, and just to try and keep it out there is what it is. And another thing is, that's one of the reasons why we videotape, is we definitely want everything transparent and out there. And I like the fact that there's several Wyndham Raymond teachers or been in both. You know, Eileen's been in both schools, and you know, we're seeing both sides, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the thing. I think the relationship's been so positive that I'd hate to break that up at this point.
Okay. Cool, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming out on this.
I was saying thank you too.
Oh,
yeah.
This was good.
Thank everybody for coming out on this nice cold night. Make sure you drive carefully on the way home. Biggest thing I would say is, you know, kind of go out of your way to check notices and things like that, and see if there's information. And if you've got questions and comments, send them along to us. We want to get the questions, and we'll answer as best as we can.
Sign up for that listserv, as I think some folks indicated. And I don't know why we couldn't make an RSU withdrawal edition. You know, we could send them out, send out information as we have it.
And anybody that wants to call Sue Look and give them their email or some kind of thing that I can send out updates as we get them, that you can send.
Sue's grabbing the mic quick.
Or email.
Or possibly go online and put their email into the listserv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm not even thinking just that. Just I'm thinking every way possible to get it out there more. You know, or you know, I don't know if there's a Facebook page. Do we have a Facebook page?
We have a Facebook.
What I'm suggesting is we run an update on a periodic basis.
Yeah.
Maybe run an
There
ad
was
in
one
the Eagle
before, you
telling
did that
people
one.
about it.
So you can just start a new one.
All right. I think there's another one though. Isn't there another Facebook page? Did Kayla do that one?
Kayla has a Facebook.
You're on,
The town has a
you're on the
Facebook
group
page,
working
yes.
with the town anyway, so.
My group, my mom, okay. I failed. All right, so we will get a Facebook page. Do you guys all have Facebook? No, all right. We'll get on the newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But what if the Eagle reporter who's here tonight put a little blurb somewhere in the story or near the story, or we pay for a little ad or something
She's good with doing the stories now.
that says that this is available, and we put out an update on a periodic basis about what's happening?
I am here, and I was going to come. I'm sorry. I am Lorraine Glozak with the Wyndham Eagle newspaper, and I am here to help you, and
Okay.
maybe we can work out something together.
Okay.
And I was going to come and talk to you about maybe we can do like a monthly kind of update, and I can get information from you, if that's helpful.
Yeah, if that will help anybody, then we can get it in the
And I'll reach
paper.
out to Dawn as well.
Yeah,
But
that'd be
yes,
great.
yeah.
Because right now we're having one meeting a month, aren't we? Yeah. So.
Okay, and then I can just get the information out there, and I'll, just like have a little Raymond page or something like that.
That works. And it's 1301 is your Time Warner cable thing for the meetings to watch this on
And
channel.
everything here is, digitally recorded, kept in perpetuity, so it's available. It's the official record is the DVD. It's not the notes that everybody's taking. It's not the minutes that Sue takes, although those are very detailed and appreciated. But they're DVDs. If you want to get DVDs, you can have those.
One quick question. You mentioned subcommittees as
Yep.
part of this process. How will you communicate when those positions are open, and how will people be selected to sit on those things if people were interested to
Are
be
you
part of it?
volunteering?
I would love to. be
Yes.
part of it. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, how will we
Yeah,
find out
step-
about that through the
step up
list?
to the-
Oh, jeez. I said I was done, though, and I want to stick to that.
Just so you understand, the reason we have that, it's not because we want people to get their exercise jumping up and down, but because the only way that the voice can get recorded is be up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't want to keep everybody longer, but my question was just around how we would find out about some of the subcommittees that are part of this process. If people were interested in serving on those or being a part of those, how we would find out, and how will you select
How do you
people?
spell your name? M-A-T-S-O-N?
MADSEN.
Okay.
How you serve on those.
He's supposed to give us a list, and we were supposed to
Okay.
have a meeting January 15th, but it got postponed till the end of January, and that would be our negotiation. But what we'll do is we'll get that list of what kind of committees we have.
Okay.
Is what it is. I mean, I know the committee that I'm on is working with the town to try and pull town resources and school resources, possibly what we can do for one town. Kate's on programs. And it's
But
just-
if anyone has
which is a good
any
one.
interest here in the room or out in
Yeah.
TV land, just contact the town clerk, Sue Look, the town office, contact me. We'll keep a list. We'll provide the list to the committee. And then
Contact information.
contact
Yeah.
Is it
information.
everybody who wants to be on it gets to be on it, or is there some sort of selection?
Last
or-
time we were looking for people.
Okay.
Yeah.
We actually had
And, you know,
applications
and the thing is,
last
just
time.
let us know what where you're, what you're
interested.
What you're interested.
Yeah, I think if I knew what was out there, like what all the subcommittees are, what the options are, then I could maybe cater
We'll get
toward
those.
what.
Yeah.
That would be
We'll
great.
get those from Mark.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, great, thank you. If we get that list, if we can email Mark maybe to send us that list of what the committees are, then what we can do is post it somewhere. I'm trying to think if we can either give it to Sue or we can put it on the newsletter. We can post it. Actually, we can put an ad in the papers to say, hey, we're looking for members on these committees, that type of thing. So we'll get it. Yeah. Check in with Sue.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Motion.
No, it was a workshop, so.
Are we out?
Meeting is adjourned.
We're done.